as players, we need to be treated with the same respect and have the same rights that the team can have. Because as a player, you're the worst person in the world when you want a different situation. But a team can say they're trading you, and that man is to stay in shape. He is to stay professional. And if not, his career is on the line. At some point, this league has to protect the players from embarrassment like that.
All right, so having heard that, Gary, what are your opinions? Is Draymond right? Is there a double standard when it comes to dealing with teams and players?
Man, Mac, I've kind of been on the path of what Draymond's saying, and I actually feel for him what he's saying because I know you're calling it a rant, and you're saying that he's doing all this stuff all the time. And Mac, I've been thinking he's speaking the truth for the players, and I mean I give him respect. Like they're a big part of the entity of the NBA. Obviously, they're the main product. They're the entertainment on the floor, and I believe that they're just telling the owners and the public, the fans themselves, that we need to be treated. The spectators really, we need to be treated with the same respect in terms of how you're going to look at us after the fact. And I agree. Like, let's just take the example he even used, or he didn't even use, but you could just come to my mind. Like when LeBron left Cleveland the first time. We all know what happened. Jerseys were burned, boos from the ceiling, just probably the worst reaction in fan history in the NBA, probably sports history. And like even Durant, oh yeah, maybe I was close to it in my lifetime, I think. And Durant leaving too, okay, see him getting teared down too, not as much as LeBron in my opinion, but still getting teared down. And like I don't understand why we have this thing where, Mac, if you have a job, you can leave anywhere you want, right? Like, no one's going to be like, hey, Mac, boo the city that you just left. Like, you left Sacramento, now you're going to go do some work in Seattle. Like, no one's going to come boo you in Sacramento for leaving for another job. Like, I just don't understand that part of why fans, and obviously I'm a fan too, like, we take that to heart. Like, I know maybe it's because our generation now. Well, I feel like our generation switched to, obviously we love players more, so we're fine with player movement. That's how we got detached from, like more like the NFL liking a team. So I feel like that it's our fault, really, to be honest with you, like, he's right. Like why is there a thing when James Harden asked for a trade? He's getting everyone's talking mad mess about him, mad bleep about him. But when the Cavs say, "Hey, we're about to trade so and so," or the players on the trading block, like, oh, fans are like, "Yep, trade him away. It's all good." Like, why can't it just be both ways? I think that's all he's mentioned. I think that's fair. Like, I think like their lives are getting shifted and moved, and I've always been a player type person, so I believe that Draymond's right, and I really think that it's not really an issue that can be like head on fixed by any particular person. It's kind of just has to be a way of acknowledging like, okay, both ways are fine. You can't just be a hypocrite basically in one way. So, and I know everyone's gonna probably say, oh, they're getting paid and all these things like that, but hey guys, yeah, they might be millionaires, but who's controlling the narrative really? They're trying to say is the billionaires. The owners are controlling the narrative. Hey, fans, hate this player. He wants to leave us. He's a bad person. James Harden is just creating all this commotion, but you want him to, when he wants to be on the trading block, to act perfectly holly jolly. Like, what? Like, no, this makes no sense. So, like, I just think I agree with Draymond. Like, let's just make this thing equal. And fans, I think that was just a reach out to fans, just guys, see it the same way. I think that's what it was. Just see it the same way. I think that was his bigger message in the end of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the reason why it hasn't really been talked about a lot when it comes to on the team side, when they're benching a player and having him in street clothes on the bench, still essentially being a cheerleader, is because I think a lot of the guys that happens to, they just kind of accept it. And I think that's, part of the reason why you don't hear a lot about it. I specifically remember what the Kings did to Zach Randolph, when they basically told him, you're not going to be playing, but, we still like you as a locker room mentor type figure. So, I mean, it's a slippery slope. I do think he's right. Like, he is speaking a lot of facts coming from, I like hearing what the players have to say on this. And while I did call it a rant in the intro to this segment, I wasn't with a negative connotation, for the sake of brevity, it is what it is. But, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with him either. And, I think there is a double standard, but it's one that's going to be really hard to fix, I think. I mean, you talked about the fans' attachment to players, and I think it happens more in the NBA because, it's a little bit less of a of a team sport than something like football, right? Where there's so many guys on the field. You know, you could watch somebody play 40 minutes a game for a basketball team, and so that's why I think fans are a little bit more attached to those guys. But yeah, I mean, it's a tricky situation. I'm not really sure if anything can or will be done with this, really.